The tracking beacon pulsed on Nadia's wrist display, each signal growing stronger as she approached the crash site. 3 days of traversing the scarlet wastes had left her environmental suit coated in crimson dust that clung to everything like a second skin. Her blue-tinted flesh glowed faintly beneath the transparent sections of her helmet, genetic modification that marked her as a sentinel. The only ones who could withstand brief exposure to the toxic atmosphere. The horizon shimmered, with heat distortion making the twisted metal structures of the former metropolis dance like mirages. Nothing had lived here for decades, not since the cataclysm had rendered this entire continent uninhabitable. Yet something had fallen from the sky, something that shouldn't exist in a place where even bacteria struggled to survive. Nadia crested a dune of crystallized silica and stopped.
Ow.
Below her, embedded in the poisoned earth, lay a pod.
Ow.
Its hull had been torn open upon impact, revealing a blossom of twisted alloys that scientific analysis would place far beyond current manufacturing capabilities. "Command, this is Sentinel Nadia," she spoke into her com. "I've located the crash site. Proceeding with investigation." Only static answered her. The radiation interfered with long-range communication. She was on her own. Nadia approached cautiously, her hand resting on the pulse pistol at her hip. The pod's exterior bore scorch marks consistent with atmospheric entry, but the pattern was wrong. It hadn't fallen, it had been shot down. Inside the destroyed vessel lay a man, at least something, that appeared human at first glance. His armor was unlike anything she'd seen before, active plates that shifted subtly even as she watched. Micro-adjustments happening without conscious control. The surface was scarred with precise markings, 20 small impressions arranged in a grid across the chest plate, each one numbered with careful precision. "Impossible," she whispered. She recognized the technology, or rather she recognized what it was supposed to be. Project Phoenix, a theoretical military application that had never progressed beyond simulation. An armor system that could resurrect its wearer. The armor's inner mechanisms pulsed with a blue light that seemed to match her own bioluminescence. Strange burns marked the metal where flesh met technology, and hairline fractures spread across the surface like a roadmap of pain. An inscription was carved into the right pauldron, R7 Marcus. The man's eyes opened suddenly. They were the color of gunmetal, focusing on her with startling clarity. He shouldn't have been conscious. The radiation levels alone should have killed any unprotected human within minutes. "You're still here," he said, his voice strained but unmistakably human. Nadia kept her distance, scanner raised. "Who are you?" Marcus, he said after a moment, as if the name was something he had to retrieve from deep storage, I think. He sat up slowly, testing each limb with cautious movements. His armor hummed softly, recalibrating with his motion. "Where am I?" he asked, looking around at the wasteland. "Scarlet Wastes. Former North American Eastern Seaboard." Nadia studied his face, searching for signs of radiation sickness.
You shouldn't be alive.
Marcus looked down at his armor, fingers tracing the numbered marks on his chest plate. "I don't think I am. Not entirely." He struggled to his feet, movements growing more confident as his armor adjusted to support him. When he stood fully upright, Nadia could see the sophisticated integration of the armor's system's power conduits that pulsed with blue energy. Environmental seals that somehow kept him functioning in this toxic environment. "What are you?" she asked. "I don't remember," he said, genuine confusion evident in his expression. "There are ... gaps." A distant rumble drew their attention skyward. 3 ships cut through the toxic clouds, their silhouettes unmistakable Helix Corporation dropships, military-grade, hunter-killers. "They're coming for you," Nadia realized aloud. "How do you know?" "'Cause nothing else here is worth the risk." She made a quick decision. "If you want to live or whatever it is you do, come with me." "Now," Marcus nodded, and as they began moving through the crimson wasteland, Nadia couldn't shake the feeling that she'd met him before. Something about the way he moved, the cadence of his voice, struck a chord of familiarity that shouldn't exist. What she didn't know yet was that she had killed this man, not once, not twice, but 7 times. And he had died protecting her every single time. The acid rain fell in sheets across the barren landscape, each droplet hissing as it struck the ground. Nadia led Marcus through the labyrinth of twisted metal and crumbling concrete that had once been a thriving city. The ruins provided cover. From the Helix Corporation dropships circling overhead like mechanical vultures. "There's an old metro station 2 kilometers east," Nadia said, checking her wrist display. "We can use the tunnels to reach the border of the exclusion zone." Marcus moved with fluid precision, his armor adjusting to each step. "Why are you helping me?" he asked. Nadia paused, uncertain how to answer. Professional curiosity. Nobody's ever crashed in the wastes and survived before. A flash of pain crossed Marcus's face. Stumbled, one hand pressed against his helmet. Nadia caught him before he fell. "What's wrong?" "Memory fragments," he gasped. "Training rooms, white walls." The lady straightened suddenly, eyes focusing on something distant. "Someone with eyes like yours." Nadia felt a chill that had nothing to do with the toxic atmosphere. Her eyes were a genetic marker unique to Sentinels, a shade of blue so deep it bordered on violet. "We need to keep moving," she said, deflecting. "Those ships will deploy ground teams soon." They had reached the outskirts of the ruins when the first shots came. Energy bolts sizzled through the air, turning the ground to glass where they struck. Nadia dove behind a fallen pillar, dragging Marcus with her. "7 operatives," Marcus said with mechanical precision, as if reading from internal sensors. "Tactical formation Alpha 3. They're not trying to capture, they're executing." "How do you know that?" Nadia asked, risking a glance over their cover. Marcus froze, his expression suddenly blank. "I don't know." The kill squad advanced methodically, using overlapping fields of fire to close off escape routes. They moved with the coordinated efficiency that came only from years of battlefield experience. "We're pinned down," Nadia hissed, checking her pulse pistol's charge. "Not enough ammunition to take out 7 trained operatives?" Marcus studied the tactical situation, his eyes tracking enemy movements with preternatural focus. "I need you to run to that structure." He pointed to a half-collapsed building 30 meters away. "On my signal, that's suicide. We'd be exposed for at least 10 seconds. I'll cover you." Something changed in his voice's certainty that hadn't been there before. Before she could protest. Marcus vaulted over their cover and charged directly at the kill squad. His armor's energy shields flared to life, absorbing the first volley of shots. He moved with impossible speed, closing the distance to the nearest operative in seconds. Nadia watched in shock as Marcus engaged the squad. His movements weren't just trained, they were perfect, as if he'd fought these exact enemies in this exact scenario before. He disabled 2 operatives in quick succession, using their own momentum against them. Then it happened. The squad leader adjusted his aim and fired a specialized round that punched through Marcus's shields. The projectile struck him directly in the chest, blossoming into a web of energy that short-circuited his armor's systems. Marcus dropped to his knees, then fell face forward onto the toxic ground. "No," Nadia whispered, instinctively moving to help him before forcing herself to stay hidden. The kill squad approached Marcus's body cautiously. The leader knelt, scanning the armor with a handheld device. Subject terminated. Resurrection protocol initiated. Estimated reboot. 90 seconds. Knew what he was. Worse, they were counting on his resurrection. The squad leader stood, speaking into his cum. "Primary target down. Secure the area and prepare for extraction. The secondary target is still." His words ended in a gurgle as Nadia's pulse shot. Caught him in the throat. She had circled behind them while they focused on Marcus, using the ruins for cover. 2 more quick shots dropped another operative before the remaining 4 could react as they turned toward her. Marcus's armor began to pulse with increasing intensity. The numbered marks on his chest plate glowed blue, one after another, like a countdown. When the 8th mark illuminated, his body convulsed. His back arched unnaturally, and a mechanical scream tore from his throat, a sound no human vocal cords could produce. He rose like a marionette controlled by invisible strings, movements jerky and uncoordinated. For a terrifying moment, his eyes remained lifeless, reflecting nothing but empty space. Then awareness flooded back, and he attacked with renewed ferocity. The remaining operatives never stood a chance. Marcus tore through them with savage efficiency, each movement precise despite the earlier awkwardness. When the last one fell, he stood among the bodies, his armor stained with blood that sizzled in the acidic atmosphere. Nadia approached slowly, pulse pistol still raised. Marcus. He turned, and she saw confusion in his eyes. "I died," he said simply. "Yes, again." He looked down at his hands as if seeing them for the first time. "It feels ... different each time I lose pieces." "Do you remember?" Nadia asked, lowering her weapon, less than before. His gaze met hers. "But I remember your eyes." The abandoned metro station's entrance loomed before them. A gaping wound in the earth, surrounded by crumbling infrastructure. Radiation warnings, faded but still visible, adorned the concrete barriers, useless precautions from a time when such dangers were still novel. Nadia disabled the security grid with practiced ease, her fingers dancing across her wrist display. "These tunnels connect to a maintenance network that runs beneath the exclusion zone," she explained. "If we follow them east for 10 kilometers, we'll reach an old research outpost, somewhere we can regroup." Marcus studied their surroundings. With the calculated precision of someone committing every detail to memory, a habit, Nadia suspected, born from repeatedly losing those memories. "You've been here before," he observed. "Part of my training," she answered, not meeting his eyes. "Sentinels learn all the escape routes from the wastes." The tunnels engulfed them in darkness, broken only by the soft blue glow of Marcus's armor and Nadia's bioluminescent skin. They moved in silence, each lost in their own thoughts, until Marcus suddenly stopped. "There's someone ahead," he whispered. "One person, stationary, approximately 50 meters. Nadia drew her pulse pistol. "How do you know?" "Thermal signature." "My armor, ... He paused, surprised by his own knowledge. "It has advanced detection systems." They approached cautiously, using the tunnel's shadows for cover. As they drew closer, Nadia could make out a small campsite illuminated by a portable generator. A woman sat beside it, her back to them, working on something mechanical. "Helix Corporation," Nadia whispered. Marcus shook his head. "Different thermal pattern. Her gear isn't military grade." The woman spoke without turning. "I was wondering when you'd arrive, R7. Her voice echoed against the tunnel walls. "You're running late. Death will do that, I suppose." She stood and turned to face them, middle-aged, with sharp features and calculating eyes. She wore the practical attire of a Wasteland scavenger. A jagged scar ran from her left temple to her jaw, the kind left by energy weapons. "Dr. Josephine Tavera," she introduced herself, as former lead scientist on Project Phoenix. "Current fugitive and general disappointment to the corporate establishment?" Nadia kept her weapon raised. "How did you know we'd be here?" "I've been tracking resurrection events for years." Josephine gestured to a device on her wrist, similar to but more complex than Nadia's scanner. "Each time our friend here dies, it creates a rather distinctive quantum signature. Like a lighthouse in the dark." Marcus stepped forward. "You know what I am? I helped create you." Josephine's expression softened slightly. "Though you were never supposed to reach 8 deaths, the system was designed for a maximum of 7 resurrection cycles." "Why 7?" Nadia asked. "Lucky number?" Josephine shrugged. "Actually, it was the cognitive degradation curve. After 7 resurrections, the neural mapping begins to break down. Memories fragment, personality structures collapse." She looked at Marcus with professional curiosity. "Yet here you stand. After 8 deaths, still coherent. Remarkable." "Remarkable," Marcus said quietly. "Torturous." Josephine invited them to sit. She produced a flask of clear, liquid, purified water. A rare commodity in the wasteland offered it to them. Nadia accepted cautiously, her scanner confirming its safety before she drank. "Project Phoenix was supposed to be humanity's answer to the cataclysm," Josephine explained. "Soldiers who could survive in toxic environments, who could continue fighting even after fatal injuries. The resurrection protocol was revolutionary quantum entanglement that preserved consciousness between bodies." "Between bodies," Nadia repeated. You're saying that each time he dies, the armor builds him a new body? Ah, yes. Josephine looked at Marcus with something between pride and regret. Your original body died years ago. Everything since has been reconstruction. Marcus removed his helmet, revealing a face that was handsome in a clinical way, perfect proportions that seemed almost artificial. If I'm not the original, then who am I? An excellent philosophical question, Josephine replied. The armor stores your neural patterns, your memories. Your personality matrix everything that makes you you. But each resurrection causes degradation. Like a photocopy of a photocopy. Why 8 marks then? Nadia asked, pointing to Marcus's chest plate. If 7 was the limit? Josephine's expression darkened. Because Helix Corporation pushed the boundaries. They wanted to see what would happen if they broke their own rules. They turned the resurrection protocol into a weapon. She turned to Nadia, eyes narrowing. But you already know this, don't you, Sentinel? Or should I say, Executioner?
Shocked.
Looked between them, confusion evident on his face. What is she talking about? Nadia felt the ground shift beneath her. I don't show him your right wrist, Josephine demanded. Where your identification code is tattooed. With trembling hands, Nadia removed her glove. There, etched into her blue skin, was a sequence of numbers and letters. SX7E, Netnal. Executioner, Series 7, Josephine translated. You were his counterpart, the one who killed him again and again to test the resurrection protocol's limits. Silence stretched between them, heavy with revelation. Marcus stared at the identification code on Nadia's wrist, his expression unreadable. I don't remember, Nadia whispered, but even as she spoke, fragments of memory surfaced sterile white. Rooms, observation windows, the weight of a ceremonial blade in her hands. They wiped your memories too, Josephine said, not unkindly. Standard procedure for executioners after project termination. Can't have you remembering the atrocities you committed in the name of science? Marcus stood abruptly, his armor humming with increased energy. We need to move. The kill squad will have backup. His deliberate change of subject wasn't lost on either woman, but Nadia was grateful for the reprieve. She couldn't process what Josephine had revealed not yet. There's a research facility 20 kilometers east, Josephine said, gathering her equipment. Helix abandoned it after the Project Phoenix shutdown. You want answers, that's where you'll find them. They traversed the tunnels in tense silence, emerging hours later into the crimson twilight of the wastes. The research facility rose. From the poisoned landscape like an ancient monolith, a massive structure of concrete and reinforced steel, designed to withstand both the cataclysm and the secrets it contained. The main entrance will be sealed, Josephine warned as they approached. But there's a maintenance access point on the eastern perimeter. Less security, more radiation. Not a problem for either of us, Nadia noted, glancing at Marcus's armor. The maintenance door yielded to Josephine's override codes, revealing a dark corridor beyond. Emergency lighting flickered to life as they entered, casting everything in. A sickly red glow. Power systems are still operational, Josephine observed. Interesting. They moved deeper into the facility, passing laboratories filled with equipment shrouded in protective coverings. Dust lay thick on every surface, undisturbed for years, until their footsteps marked their passage. Central database should be on. Sublevel 3, Josephine said.
Ow.
If any records of Project Phoenix survived, they'll be there. The elevator refused to operate, forcing them to use the emergency stairwell. As they descended, Nadia noticed Marcus becoming increasingly agitated, his movements more precise, almost predatory. You've been here before, she said softly. Yes, he replied, his voice distant. This is where I was born, and where I died. Many times, Sublival 3 opened into a vast circular chamber dominated by a central computer core. Holographic interfaces sprang to life as they approached, responding. To Marcus's presence, system recognizes your biometric signature, Josephine explained, moving to one of the terminals. You were the keystone of Project Phoenix. The system was designed around you. Her fingers flew across the interface, bypassing security protocols. And accessing restricted files? Here we are. Project Phoenix, full documentation. The chamber's walls transformed into display screens, showing technical schematics, medical data, and video recordings. Marcus approached one screen, showing a three-dimensional model of his armor, his eyes tracing the complex systems designed to resurrect the dead. The resurrection protocol was revolutionary, Josephine explained, but it had limitations. As time the subject died, the neural mapping became less precise. Memories began to fragment, personality structures collapsed, and Nadia found herself drawn to another screen personnel files. Her own face stared back at her, younger and unmarked by the years since. Sentinel Executioner, SX7E, she read aloud. Primary testing operator for resurrection subject R7. You were chosen for your psychological profile, Josephine said. Detached, methodical, efficient, the perfect executioner, till you weren't. What does that mean? Access the mission. Logs, Josephine instructed. Nadia's hands moved across the interface, bringing up a series of video recordings. She watched herself in a training chamber, facing Marcus across a sterile white floor. Both wore simplified versions of their current gear, her sentinel suit, his prototype armor. Commence test sequence 7, came a disembodied voice. The recording showed Nadia attacking with clinical precision, her movements calculated to inflict maximum damage. Marcus defended himself but never counterattacked, even when opportunities presented themselves. The battle ended with Nadia driving an energy blade through his chest. His body convulsed, then went still. Resurrection protocol initiated, announced the voice. Subject R7, Death 7, recording neural degradation patterns. The screen split to show medical data brain wave patterns, neural mapping sequences. Josephine pointed to a specific reading. See this anomaly? It shouldn't be there. That's emotion persisting through the resurrection protocol. What emotion? Marcus asked, his voice barely audible. Josephine's expression softened. According to the data, attachment to her. She nodded toward Nadia. You were developing emotional connections that survived each resurrection. Scientists called it ghost imprinting. Feelings without context or memory. The next recording showed another test sequence. This time, when Nadia moved to deliver the killing blow, she hesitated. Complete the sequence, Executioner, commanded the voice. On screen, Nadia lowered her weapon. No, alarms blared through the recording as security personnel flooded the chamber. The video ended abruptly. That was your last test, Josephine said. You refused to kill him again. They wiped both your memories and reassigned you. He was scheduled for termination. But I survived, Marcus said. Someone helped you escape, Josephine replied, looking pointedly at Nadia. Someone who couldn't. Remember why, but did it anyway. The facility's alarms suddenly blared to life, bathing the chamber in pulsing red light. Josephine cursed, fingers flying across the interface. Perimeter breach, she announced. Helix security forces, at least 20 operatives. Marcus moved. With mechanical efficiency, accessing a weapons locker that responded to his biometric signature. Inside lay an array of experimental weaponry designed for Project Phoenix subjects. We need to move, he said, selecting a pulse rifle and offering a similar weapon to Nadia. The central database has emergency protocols. We can download the Project Phoenix files and destroy the originals. Nadia took the weapon, its weight familiar in her hands. Why destroy them? Because knowledge of the resurrection protocol is too dangerous, Josephine answered, initiating the download sequence. Imagine armies of soldiers who can't die, wars that never end, torture that extends beyond death. The download completed just as the first explosions rocked the facility. Josephine handed the data crystal to Nadia. Get this somewhere safe. If Helix recaptures him, they'll restart the project. What about you? Nadia asked. Josephine smiled grimly. I'll initiate the self-destruct sequence. Someone needs to make. Sure, this place burns. Marcus hesitated, then nodded. There's an emergency exit through the research wing. We can reach the surface from there. They moved through the facility with practiced coordination, as if they had fought together for years rather than hours. Perhaps they had, in a past Nadia couldn't remember. The research wing was a sprawling complex of laboratories and testing chambers. As they passed one observation room, Marcus stopped abruptly. Through the reinforced glass, they could see a chamber identical to the one from the recordings, a sterile white room where he had died 7 times. "This is where it happened," he said softly. "Where you killed me." Nadia approached the glass, her reflection overlaying the empty chamber beyond. "I'm sorry, you stopped," he reminded her. "When it mattered, you chose humanity over orders." Explosion nearer than the others shook the corridor, bringing them back to the present danger. They continued toward the emergency exit, only to find their path blocked by a security team led by a woman in advanced tactical armor. Commander Esther. "Singh," she introduced herself, removing her helmet to reveal a face marked by cybernetic enhancements. "Head of Helix Special Projects Division, you've led us on quite the chase, R7. Behind them, more security forces sealed off retreat. They were surrounded. "The resurrection protocol has been compromised," Esther continued. "But we can still salvage the project. Come with us willingly, and your sentinel friend lives. Resist, and she dies. Permanently." Marcus stepped forward, his armor's energy signatures fluctuating. "You want me to surrender?" "I want you to fulfill your purpose," Esther corrected. "You were created to be the perfect soldier. Immortal, tireless, loyal." "I've died 8 times," Marcus said quietly, each death taking more of who I was. "There's not much left to surrender." Nadia moved beside him, her decision made. "Then we fight together." Esther sighed. "So be it." The security forces opened fire simultaneously. Marcus moved with inhuman speed, his armor's shields absorbing the initial barrage as he positioned himself between Nadia and the attackers. They fought back to back, coordinating their movements with intuitive precision, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. A specialized EMP round caught Marcus in the chest, disrupting his armor systems. He fell to one knee, energy fluctuations cascading across his protective plates. "Surrender, R7, Esther demanded, "or the next shot goes through her head." Marcus looked at Nadia, his eyes conveying a decision made. "I remember now," he said softly. "Not everything, but enough." He activated a sequence on his armor's control panel. The numbered marks on his chest plate began to glow with increasing intensity. "What are you doing?" Esther demanded, suddenly alarmed. "Protocol 9, Josephine's voice came through the facility's communication system. "The failsafe we built into the armor? Total quantum collapse?" Understanding dawned on Nadia's face. "Self-destruct." Marcus nodded. "Not just for me. For the technology itself, the resurrection protocol dies with me." Esther ordered her forces to fire, but it was too late. The blue energy that had sustained Marcus through 8 deaths now pulsed outward in waves, disrupting electronic systems and creating a localized quantum field that rendered conventional weapons useless. "You need to go," Marcus told Nadia, pressing the data crystal into her hand. "This contains everything what they did to us, how to prevent it from happening again." "I'm not leaving you," she insisted. "You have to." His armor began to fracture, lines of blue energy escaping through the cracks. Someone needs to remember. In the chaos, as Helix forces retreated from the expanding energy field, Nadia made her choice. She leaned forward and pressed her forehead against his an intimate gesture among sentinels. "I'll remember for both of us," she promised. She ran. The data crystal clutched tightly in her hand as the quantum collapse accelerated behind her. The facility's emergency systems engaged, sealing bulkheads and enabling her escape even as the central sections began to implode. From a safe distance, Nadia watched as the research facility collapsed in on itself, consumed by a swirling vortex of energy that collapsed the quantum fields that had made resurrection possible. Josephine appeared beside her, having escaped through a different route. "It's done," she said simply. "Project Phoenix is finished. And Marcus, truly dead this time." Josephine's voice held both sadness and relief. "No more resurrections. No more forgotten lives." Nadia looked down at the data crystal in her hand, containing the secrets of a technology too dangerous to exist. "What do we do with this?" That's up to you, Josephine said. You're the one who remembered to be human when everyone else forgot. The wasteland stretched before them, toxic and unforgiving. But beyond it lay other territories, other possibilities. Nadia had been an executioner, created to end lives. Now, she held the knowledge to ensure some deaths remained Finola. Different kind of responsibility. I remember him, she said softly, surprised by the truth of it. Fragments of memory were returning, not the clinical execution sequences, but moments. Between, a shared glance. A moment of hesitation. The weight of a choice. Ghost imprinting works both ways, Josephine observed. Some connections transcend even engineered memory wipes. As they began the long journey out of the wastes, Nadia felt something she hadn't experienced in years, a sense of purpose beyond survival. Marcus had died 9 times now. The final death had meaning because she remembered it, because she would carry the truth forward. Some ghosts weren't meant to be exorcised. Some haunted not to frighten, but to remind. And as the crimson dust swirled around them, Nadia embraced the haunting, the echo of a connection that had survived death itself.